believe in your dreams, believe in yourself, and go get it.
Hey there, hello there, hi there, hey! Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, founder and podcast producer at MaxPodcasting, and you can reach me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 158, and today's guest is Elnaz Sarraf. She is the founder and CEO of ROYBI Robot. ROYBI Robot is the world's first AI-powered smart robot to help teach kids language and STEM skills. It has been named one of the top inventions in the world by Time Magazine, for which it graced the front cover, like the cover of Time Magazine. And it's also been named one of the top world-changing ideas by Fast Company. In this interview, we talked how Elnaz came up with the idea for ROYBI Robot in the first place, how she's bringing it to life through research, crowdfunding, as well as pitching major publications, and some of her favorite other robots of all time. It is the Elnaz. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Elnaz Sarraf, the founder and CEO of ROYBI Robot, which, again, alliteration is how you win my heart. So, big fan of your robot, big fan of your company. Elnaz, how you doing today?
Hi, Max. Thank you for having me today. I'm doing great, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to speak with you.
Of course. I wasn't sure if I would be interviewing you or your robot, so it kept it interesting. I imagine that comes up quite often. We have calls with clients and partners.
Yes, I even had some cases. Actually, people called me ROYBI. I'll take it. It's okay.
So ROYBI, Elnaz, before we get into your ROYBI story, would love to talk about babies. I always start off by talking about babies. No, I don't. But I think for you, it makes a lot of sense. You have a previous company, iBaby, which has some really cool baby monitors. What made you get into the baby monitor space in the first place?
That's a great question. And the interesting part is everybody assumes the reason that I actually got into baby and children business is because I have kids. And I always tell them, no, that's really not the reason. It's really the passion that I have to make an impact. And I remember, a few years ago, about 6-7 years ago, when we were thinking about the baby monitoring category, I was, first of all, very passionate about technology, and I always wanted to do something different. After tons of research, we got into the monitoring category. Then it came down to babies. And then we realized that, the technology for baby monitor is just so old and traditional. You had to have this traditional display for baby monitor. And then, there's always a range because they're Bluetooth connected. You can't take it everywhere. And my co-founder and I were thinking we have to make a change. We need to make this a modern baby monitor, to allow parents to have peace of mind. So that was the very first time we started thinking about how we can actually incorporate phones and tablets into baby monitoring industry to both help parents and babies, of course, because their safety is very important. And then, actually our company, iBaby, was the first company to come up with the idea to monitor your baby through application on your phone or tablet. And I have to be totally honest with you, it was very challenging because, we have to change the customers, the parents' mindset that it is okay not to have that traditional monitor. It was quite an interesting journey, and it started from there. And then, gradually we got our products into many major retailers, and actually it became one of the most innovative baby monitors.
And it sounds simple in theory to just, oh, okay, let's connect these things to your phone, to your iPad. I'm sure there were many technical challenges. What were the biggest headwinds that you ran into from a technological standpoint?
Absolutely. At least in my first company for the baby monitors, it wasn't really as complicated as our robots right now. But I think the biggest challenge was that when we were starting this technology to create connection between the baby monitor and phones and tablets, there were always some technical issues with monitoring, and connecting these together. We were using a technology called P2P, peer-to-peer. And, your phone had to be connected to the cloud, from the cloud, connect to the baby monitor. And sometimes, there were some challenges. And I remember our very first generation, which, by the way, got into all Apple stores. When I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, what were we thinking? The people had to do some like forwarding on the router. It was so challenging. And then gradually, we made it very simple. We actually worked with, Apple directly, for example, for iPhones, to bring a special technology that made it so easy to install and also use the application without delays. And I'd say that was the most challenging part of the business. And then, of course, always safety and security of babies. When it comes to babies and children, parents are super sensitive, which is totally understandable. So we had to always keep an eye on our servers, connections. We had to even hire people to even try to hack our products to make sure we can actually find bugs and problems and fix them before anything goes wrong.
You mentioned you got into every Apple store with the first generation.
Yes.
Which, congrats.
Yes.
I mean, most of the time when I launch products, it's pretty much the same, but like that's pretty amazing. How did you do that?
My gosh. It was challenging. That's all I can tell you. But one thing that was exciting about it is that as I mentioned earlier, our company was the very first company to actually come up with the idea of removing the traditional screen and actually monitor the baby through applications. And then the first 2 years, we were iOS only. So Apple was really excited about it. It was totally innovative, something different that they were very interested about. And another thing was that, we tried to keep the Apple team kind of involved within our development progress. They always really like that. And then gradually, we were able to get into all Apple stores. And I have to say it took about 6 to 8 months.
That's incredible. I mean, clearly you are working hard to make sure that Apple is a part of everything, and Apple is a priority in their systems or operating systems. How did you make the first connection or partnership with Apple in the first place?
Actually, it was based on networking, and some people within our network that they did have connection with Apple. And then we gradually got connected with them. But not just Apple, we launched into, for example, like all Target stores. It took 3 years, by the way, all Walmart stores. So how it was that we actually went to a lot of trade shows. A couple of retailers met us at the trade shows. We continued the conversations. We met them, at their offices. We sent a lot of demo units. But again, all these things take a lot of time. But I'd say majority of the time it was some sort of an introduction, or some of the events and conferences or trade shows that we participated.
How about them apples? Let's move from babies to robots, as one does, and get to ROYBI Robot. Incredible robot, incredible line of robots. Your company, your creation has won all sorts of awards, literally graced the front cover of Time magazine, which kind of get chills just thinking about that. But how did you shift into this direction after your experience in the baby monitor space?
Thank you. Working in that industry actually taught me a lot. I had the opportunity of always talking with parents, understanding their needs, challenges, and always thinking about what's next that I want to do. And, kind of education was always something that would come up, even for babies. The parents would ask us, if we have any types of lullabies, some like, educational stories and stuff like that. And education was always very, very big passion of mine. And I always felt that I want to make a much bigger impact. And, after years of experiencing technology, and then once again, the opportunity be close to parents and understanding customers' needs, I decided to shift my focus a little bit. It's not a big shift. It's just that, from babies, now I have products for children ages between 2 to 8. And I remember I had a conversation with my co-founder, Ron Cheng. He also he has 3 kids. And I remember he always talks about the challenges, when the kids go to school, the education at home, doing homeworks and everything. So we thought, we can use advanced technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning to really make an impact in this category. And, I always believe if you want to change the future, it actually starts with children and providing them with the best education possible. So that's how I made the transition, and it has been quite an exciting journey.
You start with babies, then you go to the next age. I feel like you're just going to keep going and going until you get to senior citizens. But it's really cool how it comes from a key insight, and it sounds like it came about pretty organically.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who's not familiar with ROYBI Robot, how would you explain what makes this educational kids robot different than what they might be imagining?
So first of all, ROYBI is an AI-powered educational robot for kids ages between 2 to 8. We are currently focusing on language learning, communication skills, and STEM activities. It comes with over 500 lessons, 73 categories. So there are always so many lessons, exciting, interesting lessons for children to play with. And in terms of, for example, daily interaction with ROYBI, children can easily play with the robot. It is small. It's very easy to hold there. There is a very small button on ROYBI and a small screen on its belly that they can see some visuals. ROYBI itself is actually conversational. It, on a daily basis, children can talk with it during the practice time. So every lesson is less than 5 minutes because we want to make sure we don't lose the child's attention. Like one day they might be learning something about math, another day chemistry, biology, and so many different things. But the difference is, one big difference in ROYBI is artificial intelligence, of course. We have developed our speech recognition engine specifically for children. Like a lot of products, let's say Alexa, Google Home, Siri, they do not have technology for ages under 13. And this is really our area of expertise because the way that children talk is very different. Like they want to say rabbit, maybe they say wabbit or something else, And, we've developed this engine for the past about 5 years. So we have a lot of data, machine training, I have to say compliant data. And we continue training the machine to make sure ROYBI can understand children better and better. It currently comes with 2 languages, English and Chinese. By the end of this year, we're adding Spanish, and next year we're adding more languages like French and possibly German. We might also add Japanese.
I'm going to wait until the Pig Latin ROYBI is out. I'm excited for that one. It sounds like a ton of training in a good way. I mean, the training, the inputs, that whole ballpark of making sure that ROYBI can actually understand the kids is a huge part of it. What does that look like?
I have to say it has been quite challenging and long journey because one of the biggest problems we face because we are in children's space is that we don't have access to enough data. And also in order to be compliant with COPPA, which is Children's Privacy Act and policies, we can't really collect data unless we have some sort of a pilot program, and always we have to get everybody's consent from parents to educators and whomever using to make sure the way that we collect data is completely compliant. So that was quite challenging, and but in 2020 we acquired a company called KidSense AI. So they were developing ASR engine, which is automatic speech recognition engine, and also NLP, again, specifically for children. They had some really, really big clients that they were using their technology for their audiobooks for children. So we acquired that company, which added a lot of data, over 150,000 children's data for machine training purpose, and about 3,500 hours of machine training, which is actually a lot. So that really helped our engine, and the way that we go about the challenge is really to partner with, for example, universities and schools and gradually gather data for training.
What's the reaction of kids when they interact with this robot and see this thing? Literally, it's like talking to a creature they've never even met before.
We actually see a lot of excitement when kids first meet ROYBI. We've heard from a lot of parents that the kids look at ROYBI as a trusted friend. We had some cases, the parent actually told us their child is very shy. She doesn't talk to anybody, barely talks to people, but she talks to ROYBI. She tells ROYBI about her day, her feelings, emotions, and it's really nice and exciting to hear those things. But we also heard that, in some cases, ROYBI was quite helpful for children with speech disorder. So many stories we hear kids, dance and sing with ROYBI, with the stories, with the songs that we have. And normally we see that in average, kids use ROYBI between 20 to 30 minutes on a daily basis.
That's incredible. And in addition to all the educational benefits, you've added a friend. You've created a friend for these kids. And it sounds almost therapeutic as well. Like there's so many positive benefits to it. In terms of those actual lessons, can you share an example of one? Like, what does that actually look like when a kid is playing and or learning from ROYBI?
It depends really on, what type of a lesson it is. But generally, for example, we recently released some lessons about dinosaurs. And how it works is ROYBI starts talking about story about a dinosaur. A different type tells the child about some characteristics, the habitats, and some of their personalities, what they eat. And then gradually, as it moves forwards towards the story, it starts asking the child some questions. and ask the child to repeat some sentences, or even, take a guess, what the answer is, and it can actually recognize if the answer is right or wrong. And if the answer is wrong, ROYBI actually encourages the child to repeat and learn more. And even if, again, the answer is wrong, later on, ROYBI will go back to a similar structure and lesson to actually review. And then what it does is it can record, for example, pronunciation scores, the amount of vocabulary that the child learned, and the average time they spent with ROYBI. Because, our major focus right now is language learning and communication skills. So that's why we put a lot of focus on pronunciation and vocabularies.
I'm just picturing ROYBI literally like making a mental note in the middle of this lesson and then going back and revisiting an area that needs a little bit more work. And it's incredible that this kind of smaller but super cute robot can do all these things. Like, the technology really, really seems crazy. When you think about the business overall and the growth you've seen, and literally you've been named one of the top inventions out there. Well, not you. Your creation has been named one of the top inventions out there. You're one of the top inventors. We'll give it to you. What have been some of the biggest drivers to your growth?
First and foremost, I have to say the passion that we have as a team for the product that we are building, and also in the space we are in, make a difference, and to help children learn through their individual abilities and interests rather than one size fits all. So that's number one, and the passion always keeps us going. But on the business side, I think, in the product officially launched to the market last year in May 2020. So it was quite challenging and also interesting because so much was going on, but also we were getting a lot of traction. And I think online sales and advertisements, as well as press coverages that we've received, really contributed to the growth of the company. And we actually foresee that the growth will continue, especially when we start piloting and partnering with schools.
And what were some of the biggest wins in that first rollout?
I think, in overall, I think the biggest win was that we got a lot of traction before we actually even launched the product to the market. And that really helped us to easily talk with the retail buyers and be able to show them the value and impact of the work we're doing with ROYBI. So that made it really smooth, I would say, not necessarily easy, but smooth.
Oh, I'm sure it was easy. Come on.
It sounds easy, but it's not. It's a lot of conversations going back and forth. Even you have so many more. Sometimes people are like, okay, show me numbers, convince me, show me metrics. So it really takes a lot of time and effort. But I think one of the great things that happened for ROYBI was that, we were already ready to go into the online space. But we actually got a lot of, I have to say, actually free press coverages. We've been on so many media outlets like Forbes, Times, and so many more like VOA, BBC, and all those drove a lot of traffic and also sales to our channels.
I want to hit on that piece because that's something that applies to quite the range of different businesses. Or, I mean, even if you have, like, if you're somebody launching an upcoming course or launching a product or service, something else like that, building traction, creating that buzz before you even launch the official thing is huge. That's exactly what you're saying has come through for you. In addition to communicating your story and kind of the passion and positive mission behind everything, what was helpful for you as far as making sure that you have so much traction and momentum right before launch?
it actually wasn't easy because in the beginning, I remember we had no idea what we were doing. Both me and my co-founder and some of the team members, we had so much experience in technology, but getting into education space was something that was quite new in terms of advertisement, not the industry itself. So it took us some time. So what we did was in 2019, for 2 months, we actually launched our product as part of crowdfunding. But before doing that, we spent about 5 months to actually gather leads. And we did a lot of advertisements on social media. We reached out to so many journalists. We got some free press coverage and, placements for ROYBI. So when we launched on crowdfunding, we already had a database of thousands and thousands of people that they would actually convert to sales. But even to this date, we are continuing similar thing, constantly working on ads on social media, reaching out to journalists.
What's a piece of advice you can share about reaching out to media outlets when you haven't even launched anything yet and still achieving some awesome recognition?
I think a lot of journalists actually care about the story behind the product and the company, and sometimes even the founders. They want to see the passion and the reason and let's say why you started the company. Of course, they all know that anything in technology is just going to take time, and even if the product is not fully ready or it's not on the market, it will be. So they are used to that. But I think in terms of advice, the way at least we did it, we really focused on our mission and the story behind the company and why we are doing this and how it's going to impact the future. And it's really helped us to get some prominent interviews with media outlets.
That's brilliant. Like, there really is no reason to wait until everything's perfect and buttoned up. Like, you did so much before your product, like the namesake of your company, is even out there. It's really inspiring to hear about. Hey, you are inspiring too. And yes, that rhymes. You can ignore that part. But yeah, it's true. Damn it. I bet you have an awesome message to spread or some amazing tips in the business space or not that would lend itself magically to a podcast. If you're interested in starting a podcast or need help with your existing podcast and you don't want to spend all your time on those small, minute details and the things behind the scenes that take like literally all your time up, email me at max@maxpodcasting.com. I will help bring your podcast to life, help you save time with your high quality podcast. Now, back to Elnaz and an incredible R2-D2 impression by myself, if I must say. You might think you're listening to Star Wars. Let's switch gears a little bit, or as ROYBI would say, beep, beep, boop, boop, bop. No, I'm just kidding. I'm much more intelligent than that. Let's switch gears and look at you personally, how you stay inspired, how you stay creative. What do you do, whether it's at work or outside of work, that helps you to come up with creative ideas like this?
It's a lot of it also, it goes back to our passion in general. We constantly want to do something different. And that really drives us to look for, other types of technologies, always be able to create something different. But at the same time, we communicate with our customers all the time. We get surveys, we get their opinion, ask them what else they want to see in our products and what would be the next steps. We also have some incredible advisors, mentors who actually really help us to come up with some creative ideas. And I have to say, not all the ideas are going to be great. We just have to test and see what worked best for our company. And outside of work, I always try to, do a lot of research Read some books, news, watch a lot of special YouTube videos and see what's out there. Listen to a lot of experts and understand, where the technology is today, what is needed for the future. And that's how we actually get inspired to come up with different ideas and projects at ROYBI.
In addition to reading books, do you have any other ways that you like to truly unplug?
Well, personally, yes, exercise and listening to music.
And what's your go-to music?
Actually, many different things. I just turn on my my YouTube. Sometimes it's workout music, sometimes relaxing music. It depends on my mood, actually.
Right.
If I had a crazy day, I just rather to relax.
Oh, totally mood-based. I love it. There's so much. I mean, personally, I'm a huge Spotify fan, and it's amazing how great these music services are now at like finding stuff for your mood or giving you options based on what you really want to listen to in that moment. I mean, it's the same thing on YouTube with recommendations, and I mean, YouTube's a whole other world. I mean, it's literally the whole world in a search engine. But how about resources or places that you look for inspiration? You kind of alluded to them a little bit before, but what types of YouTube videos do you find yourself watching the most often that make you feel most positive and inspired?
That's a really good question, actually. I think, as you just mentioned, these recommendations, the AI and machine learning that they use, especially on YouTube, is just fascinating because, one day maybe I'm just interested about learning about something in business, and then 2 days later I start getting some recommendations about other types of videos, maybe in finance or maybe in fundraising, so many other things, and I just keep going. I don't have any specific rules what I want to watch. I watch many kinds of videos, even sometimes some historic videos, because it's so inspiring to see some of the big names that we know today. They've been through lots of ups and downs to create their businesses, and get to a point that today we're like, wow, they're so incredible, so inspiring. And it's just sometimes really good to listen to these inspirational conversations and learn about these people in the industry, because personally it really helps me to get motivated.
Are there a few names that jump to the top? Like when you think of people that you're really interested in their background and learned about kind of from their journey, who jumps out at you?
I think two big names always that I talk about. One is Elon Musk, for sure. When I look at his journey at Tesla, at SpaceX, and the challenges that he had to make impossible possible, is just so inspiring. And being a big fan of Apple, Steve Jobs, of
Oh, I
course,
knew I
always
should have
somebody.
I should have bet money on that. I knew that was coming. Well deserved though.
It's really inspiring to see how they built these giant companies, which have a huge impact in our lives. I remember like 10 years ago, we would barely use our cell phones. Now we don't even go to sleep without our cell phones. And I'm a huge Apple fan, of course. Everything Apple, everything is connected. And the great part of it, and this goes to any product development process, is basically the user experience behind every product, which is the most important part.
So speaking of everything Apple, let's get to a fan favorite segment called the Wild Business Shoutout of the Week.
The Wild Business Shoutout of the Week!
Wild Business Shoutout of the Week is where we talk about a creative marketing campaign or approach to cut our attention. And just because we haven't talked about Apple at all yet, Apple, obviously very, very inspiring company and always a trendsetter, trailblazer in the space. What is it about the way that Apple operates and approaches things that has pretty directly influenced your leadership style and how you do things at ROYBI?
Launching several products actually at Apple has taught me so much during several years that I had the opportunity to work with them. And I have to say, sometimes it feels challenging, to work with people that they have so much experience and expectation. But what's really helped us was that, we gradually got to know the style, and being simple and continuously put focus on creating the best user experience possible for our products. So that was quite helpful. And the thing about Apple is, they always want to make things better. And that's what we learned for in our business, for our product. Continuously make changes, make things better, but keep it simple, because nobody likes complicated product. And also, once again, I keep mentioning this, but the user experience is extremely important. And I personally had the opportunity to learn from Apple team how this works, and how important it is for every product.
And you literally use the terminology Apple style when referring to kind of how to approach things. I love that. For some reason, it makes me think of applesauce. I don't know why. That UX, that user experience, that ability to focus on making things better, that is what makes some companies stand out from others. How do you keep that focus amongst your team on that kind of, I don't know if it's technically the same thing as continuous improvement, but it is a consistent approach of making things better?
We always make sure to mention the importance of keeping things simple. And I think that's one of the things about having Apple style, is to make things simple, to the point, and straightforward. And it's not always easy, because, like, for example, for our product, it's a complicated robot. It has so many features, and trying to make it as simple as possible, sometimes it won't happen in that way. But we gradually remind ourselves that we have to put ourselves in our customer shoes, and be able to really understand how we can make things better for them. This really also helps us to have a better communication with our customers. For example, we time to time we have focus groups, and we try to understand what the problems are about the product, because the problem internally is we use the product so much, we probably don't see the flaws, right? The best way to keep it simple and focus on, again, the best user experience, is to actually talk with our users and get their insights and figure out, what the problems are. And I want to give you a funny example that we didn't even think about it, but once we started actually selling ROYBI, we had some cases that people actually told us, this product is defective, it's not working. And we were like, oh my God, what the problem is? We don't really understand what the problem is. And after a few conversations with different people, what we realized was that the power button under ROYBI's shoe is just small, and they don't understand they have to power it on, and we didn't actually put that step anywhere on the care booklet. And that was
no.
crazy. And sometimes when you try to keep things so simple and sleek, you actually miss things. So what we tried to do, we immediately changed our instructions, we added separate steps for them. Now everything is much better.
That goes right along with the old IT trick of, well, did you turn it off and turn it on again, or did you unplug it? But I guess the same thing applies to product design.
Yes, absolutely. And again, the funny part is, as the creators behind a product, we just sometimes don't see it, or we assume that people know how to use it, but it's not really like that.
Let's go from focus groups to focusing on the unusual. So let's talk pet peeves, quirks, weird talents. In addition to forgetting instructions for the power button, what is something about you personally, a little bit quirky about your personality that maybe your family, friends, somebody calls you out for, but it's part of who you are?
I think something that is sometimes comes up is, when I go to events, meetings, people actually think I'm super extrovert, super outgoing, but actually I'm extremely introvert. And, the best thing that I can do every day is just to sit behind a computer and create things. And it's just sometimes really funny that people don't see me that way.
I mean, so many people are a mix of introvert and extrovert. Like you just need time. I find it's hard to do one of those routes all day. Like you need some mix of both, but it's amazing when you can kind of turn on and off when you'd like. How about weird talents? I call them weird talents. Some might say party tricks, something that's you can do, but it has no impact on your business. Some people can tie a cherry with their tongue. Some people can juggle. There's all sorts of things. Anything like that?
Actually, when I was a kid, I used to be really good in changing my accent. Somebody would talk with me for like 5-10 minutes, and I could easily mimic the accent, immediately. And that was something that I remember my parents used to always say. It's just so amazing. I could talk in exactly same accent of that person. I don't know if I can do it now. I haven't tried it, but that was something that just came to my mind, actually.
Okay, well, how about you try sounding like me for a second? Ready? Go. Okay, this is me, Elnaz, trying to sound like you, Max. Wow, that was amazing. Very good. Wow, that was very impressive. And then what about pet peeves? What's something that you find just a little bit annoying?
I think, about me is something that also annoys myself is I generally overthink things too much. I always try to tell myself, just let it go, don't overthink, but I constantly do that. It's my personality. And about actually also technology, as you mentioned, I think the most annoying part is it's like we want to do so much with the technology, but we still have so much limitation. So we just need to be patient. And, as we move forward, we have more resources, we would be able to do more and more amazing things.
I'm with you. Absolutely with you. All right, let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Of course.
All right, let's get wild. These, ROYBI needs to answer that. No, I'm just kidding. You were born and grew up in Iran. What's something about moving to the U.S. and living in the U.S. that has surprised you about the transition?
I'd say not surprised, but having the opportunity to actually do what I want without limitations of like being a woman in Iran gave me so much limitations. I couldn't do a lot of things. And then I came to the US and I was able to grasp the opportunities. That's why I guess they say it's the land of hope and dreams, right?
Exactly. That's what I start off every podcast with that. No, that's amazing though. It's awesome when you hear from people who are born in other countries and then kind of see how different it is and how much opportunity there is, especially in the entrepreneurial and the business space. It's really, really cool. And speaking of the US, you are based in the San Francisco Bay Area. What is your favorite and least favorite part of where you live?
Is the weather is always amazing, and I love the fact that I live somewhere that is all about technology, and I wouldn't really change going anywhere else because it's just incredible. Least favorite is I think because a lot of people are so techy in this area. Sometimes like after 9, I always joke, like San Jose area, which is close to San Francisco, is sometimes like a dead town. Nobody is out there, everybody's at home getting some rest.
A much needed rest. And speaking of technology, I'm sure you've either seen or at least heard lots about that Black Mirror episode. Do you know which?
Yes, of course.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yes, the Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, the Miley Cyrus and we'll just call it a artificial intelligence robot in the children's room. I won't spoil what happens, but did you receive any sort of fallout or people reaching out to you after that came out?
This is a very funny question because yes, and the funny part of it is, when actually that episode went live, that was the exact time that our campaigns went live before we actually doing crowdfunding. Oh my gosh, we got so much negative feedback. And I remember I kept saying, what is this? So eventually I had to watch it. But, people don't really understand the difference. The things that happen during the movie, it's not the reality. AI is not there yet, and it's not going to do the things that you see on the movie. So it was quite interesting.
Right, absolutely. I think the creators of Black Mirror and Miley Cyrus as well deserve to throw you like a special ROYBI concert or something, because they looped you into that for no reason. That's so funny, though. What was your reaction to seeing your creation on the cover of Time?
I almost cried.
Almost. I'm crying thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't want to say I cried almost all day. No, joke aside, it's interesting because we, of course, we were told that, we are one of the recipients of the award. But I had no idea that we are going to be on the cover 2 times, actually. And until the day that Time actually got published. So I remember I was screaming and actually crying because with joy, because, when we started the company, we knew we want to make history. We want to make a difference. But being on the cover of Times, it was something that I didn't really think about. It just happened. And it was really one of the proudest moments for all of us at ROYBI.
Incredibly well deserved.
Thank you.
That's one of those things. Like, they literally, I've seen at conferences and stuff, and it makes me think of like Youth Sports Picture Day. But they have like fake photo frames where you can put yourself on the cover of Time and things and like, you don't need that. You lived it. And then last one, who would you say is your favorite robot in like TV or film or just cartoons of all time?
Wally.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
great one.
Disney, yes. And we actually had some people tell us, ROYBI kind of is similar to Wall-E. Not exactly the look of it. The look, some people say, it looks like Shrek or Minions.
I could see it, a combination of that. I see some Monsters Inc. as well, Mike Wazowski.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, we have been living it up in Wally World. Thank you so much, Elnaz, for sharing your story. ROYBI for sharing your story. All the amazing wins you've had, some of the challenges, and just tips and strategies. Really appreciate your time. Where is the best place for people to learn more about ROYBI and if they want to connect with you personally?
First of all, thank you very much for your time and having me and ROYBI on the podcast. If people want to learn more about ROYBI, they can go to our website, which is ROYBI Robot, ROYBI robot.com. And also the best place to reach out to me would be on LinkedIn.
Perfect. All my pleasure. I've always wanted to interview a robot, so thank you very much, ROYBI. Last thing, final thoughts. Stage is yours. It could be a quote. It could be a line. It could either be you or ROYBI. Send us off here.
I encourage every entrepreneur out there to be persistent, believe in your dreams, believe in yourself, and go get it.
Go, 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 gadget flow. Elnaz, thank you so much for sharing the ROYBI robot story and more on the podcast. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. Seriously, tell them. They will say thank you for telling me about the Wild Business Growth Podcast. You can also find us on Good Pods. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at MaxPodcasting.com. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!